well-being, and the love of the divine that exists in all of us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
And I'm very privileged to have in studio Nacho Arimany. I think I said it right. Okay, he's a world musician, plays all kinds of instruments, but the exciting thing about him is that he has been using 432 Hertz frequency in order to heal the mind and the body, and to reconnect the brain to the body and the heart. And he's worked with the Rockefeller Institute, and I'm just very excited to have him in studio today, not only to play his amazing music, but to talk with the audience about the importance of us reconnecting with the frequency of 432 Hertz. I also have Bryan Christian Dahl in studio, and Bryan was a paper that he did for graduate school on the history of 432 Hertz and connecting it all the way to today, and how the music went and how the music changed. And it's a part of a graduate paper, a scholarly paper that he did that I think is very, very important. So, Bryan, we're going to start out with... Actually, I'd love to have you talk and open up with a little bit of the history in your paper.
Okay, absolutely. So this is kind of a long story.
But we got to shorten it.
It's pretty fascinating, though. So the basic point of what 432 is that every piano in the world basically is supposed to be tuned to A440. That is the standard that was developed through kind of suspicious ways. So it doesn't really matter for orchestras. You know, orchestras all over the world still tune to whatever they want.
Yeah.
In New York, it's 441. In Russia, it's 435.
Okay.
But where 440 came from is completely arbitrary. It was just a number developed by a German physicist. It wasn't even a musician. He worked with silk. He just developed a primitive tuning system, and 440 was easy for him to calculate. That was in the 19th century.
It was an even number.
Mm-hmm. And so then the Rockefeller Foundation supposedly was funding Radio Berlin, which, of course, was run by Hermann Goebbels. And right before World War II broke out, Radio Berlin had this conference in London to establish 440. Mm-hmm. The war broke out. People dismissed it. After the war, they did it again in the 50s and then again in the 70s. And so, of course, all over the world, orchestras still ignore it. But for every broadcast that's ever happened, you know, NBC, the whole 20th century, they've all been tuned to 440. All of their chimes, every church carillon, were all tuned to 440 since the beginning of the 20th century by another musician whose company was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. So that's where it gets kind of suspicious of why is there so much attention being pushed on 440, and why, for all these musicians who've been fighting for 432, why are they being silenced? You know, why is everyone being ignored, and we're just forced to be stuck with 440?
Well, but also what was fascinating when you sent me your paper was that I had studied during Hitler's whole reign, you know, how he used music to entrain people and to get them into this agitated state. And he had worked with Wagner on learning how important music was. You can get people all pumped up and angry and ready to fight and kill. So when I saw your paper, I remembered that. And then, of course, it went back full circle, back to Germany, back to, you know, someone who worked under Hitler. And then, of course, we know that here with Rockefeller, if you go back to the War of the Worlds and that broadcast, that was an experiment with mind control and how will people act, and it was a national broadcast. So, you know, if you connect the dots, it's there for the discerning mind to figure out.
There's a lot of research that's been done to connect the Rockefeller Foundation to that this research into 440 is specifically to induce anxiety and fear. There's no smoking gun, you know, to prove it, but like you say, you connect the dots and it becomes very obvious.
It's just critical thinking.
Yeah, I won't go into all the details now, but we'll put on your website all of the sources. If people want to look this up and go into the gritty history, it's all there. It's all laid out. The timeline is pretty easy to follow, and you don't have to think too hard and say, that doesn't make any sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, and then if you look at the world around you, and then I'm going to bring Nacho into the discussion because of the work that he's doing, the after effect, like the ripple, the shockwave effect of all of this is that you have a world of young people with extremely high suicide rates around the world who are agitated, who are fearful, who are physically sick, and stressed out. And as a college professor, I'm very well aware of this, and I have to deal with this all the time. And so along comes Nacho, and the reason why I was so excited that Bryan made the introduction with you is that I've been talking about 432 Hertz on the show, but never had an expert, someone who's actually using it. So now, Nacho, would you tell the audience what you're doing with this frequency and how you're using it with a new technique to actually help people heal and reconnect with who we were meant to be?
Nice. Well, I've been playing now percussion instruments, traditional percussion instruments for 20 years and traveling around the world collecting them. And I figured out after living in New York, looking at my setup, that all the instruments that I play, percussion instruments that I really always love to play, are made of the elements.
Yes.
Our clay drums we have it here, clay drums, like water drums, we play metal, and those were the instruments that as I was called to start treating kids with autism in the clinic with Sheila Allen Pediatric Therapeutics, I was drawn just with my intuition to use these vibrations, natural vibrations, to really get the minds into alignment and get the body into grounding.
Yes.
And was at the beginning was really intuitive. But after months basically using the same rhythms and using the same sounds, I realized why I'm doing that, why this feels so good, and the results with kids with autism were amazing.
And we have an epidemic of autism.
Yeah. But also now in New York, I start also using these instruments for adults, for anxiety, stress disorder, PTSD. And
we've got an epidemic of that too.
Exactly. So then what I realized is and also myself, why do I love to play these instruments? I realized because they are bringing back to my body the natural resonance.
Yes. Well, and then if you look back, if you go to Africa or any of the indigenous places, what are they playing? Drums.
They're playing drums, and they're using the elements, and they're using the drums that they build the drums with the element that they have them. So it's part of the bioculture.
It's organic.
Exactly.
It's not inorganic. And even a guitar, you've got the wood element, and you've got the metal.
And the metal,
but still.
So basically what I've been doing, which has been a beautiful journey, is 5 years ago, I think it was 6 years ago, I was in this symposium about sound and music.
Now, was that it's interesting you brought up the Rockefeller Institute, but was that at the Rockefeller Center? Video that I saw?
Exactly. That was the presentation and the launch of the In-Time program that I composed and produced and co-produced for Advanced Brain Technologies.
Advanced Brain Technologies,
which is a company that has been pioneer in the work of sound therapy, developing sound therapy programs, but always based in classical music.
Well, right,
which is really interesting, and always all the music that I have developed with so much great success, helping again kids with autism, has been always classical music, tuning for 40.
Yeah.
So they approached me to compose a rhythmic and create a new program based in rhythm, because now in neuroscience, rhythm, basically everything that happens in the brain is about rhythm and patterns. So they were this company is really cutting edge into the field. So they were looking for somebody being able to develop a really rhythmic program. So they saw me playing in the conference. I worked with Sheila Allen with kids with autism. We saw that it really worked. So they said, yes, let's do 9 albums. So it's 5 hours of music, right? And the first thing that I told them because it's like they said we want the percussion section, but also we're gonna want a second section that is we want you to include instrumentation.
Okay.
And the first thing that I tell them is like, all this instrumentation is going to be recorded in 432. All my tuning is going to be in 432. And I think it's the only program now on Earth that is scientifically proven, because we are working with sound frequencies that stimulate the brain and certain brain functions, that has the two elements, which is the entrainment, the rhythmic entrainment for the brain, but also the sound frequency stimulation for the brain, but based in 432.
Yeah.
Which brings all the natural resonance, which brings all the virtues of sound, which when we feel that sound, when we listen to an instrument tuned in 432, what is happening is like we are finally letting into the body the resonance of nature, and where the resonance, what is called the harmonic pattern of growth and evolution.
Yes.
Which is the golden ratio, which is the ratio of every living matter, that is an organism that is alive.
The phi, PHI, the phi.
The phi number, exactly. That is, as we have here, like the shell, right?
Yes.
And also, funny enough, our inner ear, the cochlea, has this shell. And this is really important, because Rudolf Steiner, you know what he said, is like the tuning of the cochlea, which funny enough is the shape, which is the golden ratio shape.
Yes.
Is the C in 128 Hertz. And that's the key thing for the tuning on 432.
Okay.
Because of the shape, this spiral shape that we have in the cochlea.
And the universe is spiral.
Exactly.
Yes.
And your body and his body and everybody's body is different, but the ratio of growth is constant. It's the phi number.
It's the golden...
The golden mean, the golden ratio.
Mean. Yes.
So what I'm developing, and also what I was really happy to bring into this program called In Time, is bringing all these instruments that has these elements, sound, this natural resonance, aligning with piano tuning 432, and was amazing, the blending of the sounds and the harp and the guitar. I was not able to play a piano in 440 aligned with the singing bowl. Was untuned and aligned with my clay drums. So what I'm doing now, we have developed this program that is now in 35 countries, helping kids with autism, recovering from the brain damage and PTSD, to stimulate the brain, but also to stimulate the whole body by listening, by integrating into the body these natural frequencies that is based in 432.
Yeah.
So that brings to the body and the mind a completely sense of balance, and coming back to where we come from, which is vibration, and it's source vibration. Yeah. And that is related again with the phi number, with the harmonic pattern of growth and evolution, the golden ratio.
The golden mean. Back with more of Divine Love Talk. And Bryan, I wanted you to open up this segment just explaining a little bit about the beats and what that means, 432 versus 440.
So if you just sit down at two different pianos and you play a little bit on 440 and 432, and you want to try to understand, like, what is really the difference? What is this profound, magical, spiritual
effect? What's the big deal?
Yeah. A lot of people, of course, might sit down and not notice it initially. But there are a lot of great videos on YouTube. If you just spend 5 minutes, they'll come up, and you can see generated tones. You're playing a chord, 3 notes in 432, and then 3 notes in 440. And in 440, you do hear this really noticeable, it's a little hum. It's just a little busier. It's a little more of a buzz between the notes, and piano tuners call that beats. So there's a little more of an intensity to it, which, sure, maybe if you're a rock musician and you want that kind of intense agitating effect, it's really effective. But the overtones and the harmonies, what we were talking about, they won't bloom in those higher frequencies. You have to go back down. Just a slight difference makes a huge effect. And what the implications of that is for, like, the whole chakra system and healing the body is that if you just have the intensity of the 440, it stimulates the mind, but too much, and it doesn't stimulate the rest of the body. And when you go back to 432, then you get all the overtones blooming, and you get all of the chakras stimulated.
All right. See, that's important for the audience to hear, because, see, what I'm noticing is how almost everybody I know has issues with sleep. And when the body is constantly in this fight or flight, hyper agitated kind of state, and they're not even aware, because there are these sounds and frequencies. It's not just the music now. You've got the electromagnetic frequencies with the cell phones, with the computers, with the towers, everywhere. So if you think about these poor little kids, they're being so overstimulated. And then when you think about the news and you think about what people talk about, it's all fear, war, going to war, and now everybody's worried about what's going to happen with the election. And so everything is fear, and when your body is continually in that state, something is going to break down. And so that's what I think is so important about your work and about us talking about this, because you need, when there's a problem, there's always a solution, and you need an antidote. And so I see this music, and especially the technology that you're developing, as the antidote, but we do need to switch back to 432 hertz and get back in resonance and harmony with the Earth's frequency. So you were talking about the Schumann resonance last night, and so very quickly, can you explain how 432 hertz can get you back, in alignment with the Earth's resonance?
Well, basically, it's the Schumann resonance is how the Earth is vibrating and is pulsating, and is 7.83 hertz, so an average of 8. So if we do, like, as we know, sound grows in octaves, right? So if we go 16 octaves from 8 hertz, we go 128, which is this sound. Which is this frequency. Okay. And that's the frequency that Rudolf Steiner said that is the frequency of our cochlea. When we tune the C in 128, the A goes to 432.
Automatically.
You see?
Okay.
And that is the relationship. So the really important thing is getting into the body, as Bryan, I really want to emphasize what Bryan says. When we tune in 432, every single note is spread out all the overtone series that it has. And that overtone series is the juice of sound.
Yes.
Is the healing, is what the body and the molecules are going to use to transform and to be realigned.
Yes.
You have the 440, and it's a brighter sound that really engages the mind and the brain, because the mind gets really energized with high frequency.
Sure.
But the body is not receiving anything, any juice.
Well, and look at all of the health issues that we're having. I mean, it's crazy. Little kids are suffering from diseases of old age. But you know what? I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you were talking about the Schumann resonance, that seems to correspond with the golden mean. The
8 is a number, exactly.
Yeah, we rounded it off.
And also the alpha,
ratio.
Also the alpha brainwave, is getting back to 8 hertz.
Okay.
So it's that state of meditation that is in alignment again with the earth.
Yeah.
And that's the place where we replenish.
Yes.
That's the place when we get nourished.
And we're going into commercial break. So we're going to continue nourishing you with this information after commercial break, because this is so important for all of you insomniacs out there, all of you parents who are dealing with, these stressed out, angry, upset, hyper children that are so disturbed. Think about all of these frequencies that they're being bombarded with that are out of alignment with nature and with their body. We don't get a break from all of the dissonant frequencies. We're just being constantly bombarded, and then we wonder why there's so much violence and why there's so much anxiety and panic attacks and post-traumatic stress, because especially in the cities, we're really, really getting bombarded. So, Bryan, very quickly, talk about the bunker thing.
This is just a little anecdote about how important the Schumann resonance is, that a college professor did an experiment with a few students. He kept them in a bunker underground, and, when you're underground, you're not exposed to the Schumann resonance, and they started to get sick. And he didn't tell them that he was going to do this, but he broadcast the Schumann resonance into their bunker, and all of their symptoms started getting better. Their insomnia went away, their nausea went away.
Yeah.
But the sad part is that no one can really pick up the Schumann resonance now unless you go out to sea. Unless you get so far away from the cell towers that you can pick it up again. It is just like a little heartbeat of the Earth that's completely drowned in all cell tower frequency.
So I just want to keep emphasizing how important this is. It's like ignorance is not bliss, people. Like, and we're dealing with symptoms all the time instead of going to the root cause and fixing the problem. So today on the show, we're offering a real solution to what everyone is suffering from. So very quickly, I want you to talk about...
as we know also the body, we're talking about all this harmony in the body, and this harmony in our emotions, right, in our brain. If you understand, the body is more than 75% of water.
Exactly.
Right. So any sound, any vibration that we are exposed is going to affect all these molecules of water.
Absolutely.
So I just bring here like a little image about a water sound image in 432 and a water sound image in 440 to see the patterns that brings tuning in 432 and tuning in 440.
And 432, it looks like a sunburst.
It's like a sunburst is really defined, and in 440 it's distorted. It's distorted. There is no pattern that is clear.
Yeah.
You know, so that imagine that for me is always which are the shapes that we want to bring into our body.
Yeah, and let me just say very quickly, if people cut open an orange or an apple, it has a beautiful design. You know, it's the golden mean, the golden ratio, and it's a finite number of these designs or fractals that are repeated over and over in nature, and everything has that phi ratio, the proportion, divine proportion is what it's called. And so we're not talking about something that, you know, is unknown. I mean, this is prevalent in nature.
The key thing is like as nature provides this ratio and these patterns as patterns, 432 bring us back to that ratio. Is the vibrational...
Our original design.
Exactly. Is the original vibration related to our original design.
Yes.
And the definition of golden ratio is the harmonic pattern of growth and evolution.
Wow.
So isn't it not a need right now to incorporate back into our lives to make us remember which are the vibrations that bring us back to source, and from that source our consciousness will evolve. All our body in a cellular level will be finally back into the structure of the golden ratio and evolution and wellness, so the body will heal itself as it is exposed to these vibrations by remembering the true vibration that we belong.
Now talk a little bit about that, because you are using, you said, sound and movement to actually heal diseases other than autism. So would you speak briefly?
Yeah, well, now what I've been developing is like I have discovered that by using the golden ratio, if we create movement in our body, aligning our breath with the movement, our brain will codify that movement and the vestibular system will get engaged, and the brain will codify that movement as rhythm. So we don't need sound to engage the brain and to entrain brain waves. If we create movement in our body in a particular pattern, which I've used patterns on 5, we'll create this architecture in the brain. And this architecture in the body that will allow that space, which is golden ratio space, like a temple, because all the temples in the world, cathedrals, pyramids, Parthenons, has shared the same ratio of construction as our body. So if we go...
The Giza pyramid.
Exactly. And those places were places for sound to be experienced inside.
Exactly.
And when the body is exposed to sound inside that space, there is a shift in consciousness and there is a shift at the molecular level. So what I'm developing now is like, why if we create in the body by moving with the patterns of the golden ratio, that temple and that shape, so then your voice, your true voice that's going to come from source of course, from 432 or even before, for the original sound, will come through you and will transform you and will transform all your electromagnetic level all around you. And by awakening that true voice of yourself, by sympathetic resonance, I will awake in you your true voice.
And through entrainment.
Exactly. So then our relationships will start being more healthier.
And harmonious.
Exactly.
How about that?
Exactly. So that the key thing for me is like how rhythm through movement creates architecture in the brain and in the body, and inside that architecture, sound, source sound, natural resonance will move freely, which is what we want, because sound is always moving, and will transform yourself and your surroundings.
Wow. So you're on camera right now, so give me a quick example of what that movement looks like. Just one example.
Well, basically, everything, vibration is a pulse, right?
Okay, there's your camera.
Here's a camera. So we can create a pulse, but we can create a pulse with our body.
Okay.
So we can create a steady pulse in our body just by doing this.
Tai Chi.
It's kind of a mix of things. This is codified by the brain.
Yes.
Like this.
Okay. Now some people can't walk and chew gum at the same
time. But now you can do this. So then you finally, you know what happened in our lives? We don't even know what is the pulse.
But you see little children doing that, though.
Because that's how they do to calm themselves.
They automatically do that.
Because that's how that will engage the vestibular system, and they bring them back into balance.
Yeah, and you see the autistic kids doing it, and you also see kids like doing the whirling dervish. They will whirl.
Because that's the way
spiral.
You can calm down, that you can self-regulate, but because those movements, again, get codified for the brain from the vestibular system that is completely close to the cochlea that is in charge of codifying sound.
Yeah.
And that's the way that they go back to what we want, balance.
Yeah.
And then through balance, what we do now is that in this pulse, what we want to create is the shape of the spiral inside of us.
Yes.
So what I create is I start breathing in 5. So I create I just count in 5. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Breathe.
1, and now we breathe in 5.
Yeah.
And that's the Fibonacci number of the
Fibonacci sequence. Okay.
And look at that. And now we move.
All right.
3,
I needed to
4,
see it. I'm
5,
visual.
And
okay.
4, 5, and so by doing these 5 minutes, look at what we're doing.
Wow.
We are creating a cycle of 5.
Yeah.
Okay?
And you're grounding.
But one pattern is in this direction with this pattern. This pattern is in the other direction.
Okay.
So the brain is creating now this polyrhythmic
yes, I see
like movement that is really engaging the brain.
Yeah.
And by doing that after like 5 minutes, you get into this state, and you will experience that hopefully today.
Yes.
Of suddenly you become a temple. You become so grounded and so focused and so calm in 5 or 10 minutes just by moving.
Yeah.
And that is happening because we are creating that architecture of the brain, the architecture of the golden ratio that bring us into balance, as you see.
Yeah.
And
that's what the little autistic kids are trying to do. Okay, so we're going to have you do a little music, and Bryan and I, as you're putting the music together, Bryan and I will continue the discussion about why this is so critical. And Bryan, again, I want to thank you for thinking, send that paper to Dr. Grant. Let her look at it. What do you think about that? I love the fact that, you're young. Actually, you're an educator, right? Your background
I've worked with kids a lot,
yeah.
and played classical music for kids a lot, and I guess this is how you have to reconcile all this together.
Yes.
You don't want to take away from this that letting kids listen to music at 4:40 is not good for them. It's more than that. You can't break it down that simply.
Yeah.
Listening to classical music is always good for kids.
Yes.
Getting any kid to sit still, get grounded, and internalize and just listen is the best thing in the world.
That's
for
a
kid.
feat in and of itself.
Yeah. Oh, it's exhausting.
Right.
Let me tell you, I taught kindergarten and first grade
Bless
for 4
your
years,
heart.
and that was the hardest part. But But that's what we're getting away from now.
Yeah.
You know, no one sits down and listens to a symphony. No one sits down and listens to an album. You know,
Exactly.
you used to do right with Pink Floyd albums. You'd sit
Yeah.
down and drink a bottle of wine, whatever you did, and
Yeah.
listen to an album.
And talk about attention deficit. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's all part of the same culture that we're breeding, like you said, to just be anxious all the time, to live in fear.
Oh, the heart. Oh, wow. Okay, we're going to shut up and listen. All right. Well, I want you to do a little percussion. That was so amazing. I just didn't want to run out of time.
Oh, gosh.
Wow, that calmed my solar plexus.
It's the best I've felt in weeks.
Right?
And this is amazing because the harp is tuning for this harp since I got it, and I just got it for this program in time.
Wow.
My intention is I'm gonna have this medieval harp in 432.
Wow.
And we were really listening an instrument with every single.
Yeah, I felt it in
Right.
every chakra.
It's and then we create this pulse that the rhythm that I was doing is also rhythms in Fibonacci numbers.
Yeah.
So then you are creating in your brain, you're following this rhythm that is soothing.
It was magical.
And then all the tones are just getting inside your body, and you don't need to do a lot.
Yeah.
And what is really interesting is for the voice as a singer, this tuning is the best tuning because it resonates with your organs. So you sing from your body. You don't sing from your mind.
Yes. You pointed out that you're working, you're doing vocal coaching with some singers.
A lot, because it's like we really want to sing with your true voice, and
Yes.
and your voice is the true the expression of your soul.
Yes.
And you, a singer, want to communicate that,
Yes.
not the identity of the singer.
Yes.
Know how you have to be perfect.
Right.
So I'm teaching how to create this architecture inside yourself, so you can connect with your true
Yes.
source voice, and then spread again full overtones. It's the same
Yes.
principle.
Yeah, yeah.
Like tuning 432.
Yeah.
Then you tune your voice and your full overtone happens, and
Yeah.
it's really beautiful. I have to see
Wow.
them growing.
Just in time. Okay,
Yeah.
for commercial break. Wow, that went so fast. Okay, we will be back wrapping this up, but I promise you we are going to do a part 2
nice.
with Nacho, and I'm going to be privileged to experience this technique
Yeah,
today.
the
And then I'm
Arimany
going to...
method.
The Arimany method. Okay. Any closing thoughts?
People at home, you got to get on YouTube and just look this up. I mean, there are little apps that people try and get you to do to retune all of your iTunes to 432. You don't have to do that. Just go and listen to some of Nacho's recording and find the other musicians out there who are trying to do live music at 432 and see what kind of effect it has on you.
Oh, it's true. His website is Nacho, A-R...
IMNY.
Arimny, Nacho, Nacho, Arimny.com. And that's true. There's videos, music. Check it out.
And you can see how it was really what it was. I was really honored to. It's really now just coming to me because people will see the setup and at Rockefeller when we premiere in time,
Yeah.
and how we drop it out with all these instruments that and present the program. But I was really honored to perform at Carnegie Hall last autumn.
All right.
And I was really amazing because I felt like the revolution, for me was a revolution, because I was singing a song with the Macedonian Philharmonic Orchestra and the amazing composer Duke Bodabiev, that he put my voice into a soundtrack for a film.
my goodness.
But he said, Nacho, I believe so much in your work, and I want you to open the concert with a prayer, with the singing bowl.
Wow.
And the singing bowl is tuned in 432.
Yeah.
So here I am in the cathedral of music.
The epitome, the ultimate,
Exactly.
Carnegie Hall.
Right, and here I am alone with my singing bowl, offering a prayer in this hall before the music starts.
Yes. And you did that with the show.
Exactly, and that was how I really wanted to open here. And it's the way that traditions, like, we use music not for entertainment.
Yes.
Music
It's
is a
healing.
tool for
Yeah.
transformation. It's
Yes.
a tool for healing. And that's why we want to remember. And that's why in any place, in any arena, in any theater, we need to remember that we are here together, and music brings us together to go over the challenges of daily life.
Yes.
And we're going to help you together, bringing us rhythm, dancing together,
Yes.
singing together,
Yes.
and getting back to this natural resonance that allow ourselves to remember who we are in the molecular level, and then we will transform, because we are made, our body is this amazing vibrational system that is made to transform through vibration.
Totally. And, there's nothing I love more than salsa dancing, bachata, and I feel so alive when I'm dancing and barefoot, dancing barefoot. And I noticed you came in here barefoot. So I want to, like Bryan said, challenge you guys to play the difference, and educate yourselves and know the difference, because we have a lot of challenges right now, and we need all the help
And
we can
makes
get.
a difference. You have your guitar. In the app you can have like a in your iPhone, like a tuner app, and you can set up for 432 and just start playing. Just try how it sounds, how it feels after half an hour playing your guitar in 432. Just see how you feel.
Yes.
And the
Proof is in the pudding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that we just is that simple. So you don't need a big software. There is this app in
What's the name of the app? Do you know?
It's ClearTune, I think it's called.
ClearTune. Okay. So, but you know what? I'll post it on my Divine Love Talk Facebook page and on Parthenia Grant Facebook page, so that you guys can have access to that and to Bryan's scholarly, amazing paper.
Oh yeah, that was.
I think everyone should read that. And Bryan, I thank you, because this is the beginning of this revolution that you are are already doing, but do you see how it's having a ripple effect?
But we really need people like Bryan.
More young people
that is doing the research.
Yes.
And all what I love is to be the bridge between science, technology, and the wisdom of tradition.
And you are. So check out, we're closing, check out NachoArimany.com and his music. Thank you all for joining us. I am your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.